Hello everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today we're going to be talking about why life is worth living and what the whole point of being here on this planet is, and just some big topics like that. Title of the video today is How Mind Control Works, Metaphysics for Living, right? And this is a review in one part of another series of videos made by someone named Max Trinity on YouTube. It's Max Trinity's Metaphysics for Suicide Prevention, and I'm just gonna, this person is a wonderful lady who left a comment on, our WordPress post of one of the Orgonite videos a few months back, and she asked me to listen to this audiobook and do a review of it because, I guess she felt that I would be a good person to review it, and I'm very honored for that. And basically, to sum it up, is that someone very close to Max Trinity, her nephew, committed suicide in 2016, and she made this audiobook as a way to kind of hopefully help people, help someone out there, at least someone to, if they're going through the same, depression and, lack of reason for living, that they might find some inspiration from it and, maybe be able to pull themselves out of that vortex. And she said in her video basically that, when she was younger, she had suicidal thoughts, and so she has kind of like a bird's eye view into the whole mentality. And, I'm going to tell some things about myself today. Just, I guess it's relevant information at this point. Why I am the way I am, why I act the way I act. Why I don't necessarily just fit into the matrix like most of the humans. Because, to tell the truth, it's a contract with myself, that I made when I was 16 years old as a condition of not killing myself. Basically, I felt back then, life is good. I'm very grateful for, the upbringing that I've had, and never had to go hungry or anything like that. And, as far as all the families I've seen, my family's crazy, but they're not as crazy as plenty of others I've seen. So I'm very grateful for where I come from. However, there's something about the school system in America and just the world that we're brought up into that makes it very, very depressing, very, uninspiring. The mainstream view that they teach us of how reality works, this meaningless atheist exercise in random hedonism with no purpose or consequence at all, right? We're all just a bunch of hairless apes, and our greatest cardinal achievement is just to have sex and procreate. And for a long time, I guess still technically most of my life, actually now about half my life, I accepted that and I was cool with it. It just made sense to me. I didn't see any reason to think any further along those lines. But the thing is, that mindset doesn't necessarily lead one to be very happy or fulfilled. It pretty much just, your highest state as like an atheist is just like, okay, like, maybe you take drugs and that's your ultimate, high, but ultimately there's no transcendent state in atheism beyond, oh, we all just go in the ground at the end, and there's nothing after that. And by default, the values of a person's life is basically whatever feels good, do it, right? It doesn't matter if you hurt people. It doesn't, like, ethics is just all this made up shit, inside of our head. It doesn't have any validity whatsoever outside of our head. And I just perceived, basically this life I was going forward into. It was going to be good, I guess I would get to eat, I would get to drink alcohol, and, but I was still in the mindset of fear. I was still just intimidated by the world. I thought that it held this power over me, and basically I was just facing a life that would be, you know, it would give me physical pleasure, I guess, but it wouldn't have freedom. It wouldn't have meaning. It wouldn't have purpose. And that just depressed the hell out of me. Believing that I was just entering this world with a preset, totally predictable lifetime, and it just didn't inspire me, and I didn't really want to live that life. It sounds kind of ridiculous, I guess, to recall it all now, but back then this was very all real to me. Depression, I'm a melancholy personality in general, but I've definitely been depressed for most of my life, but that's just part of my humor. It was just how I was, and I didn't really think much about it. But then you get older in life, and people are like, "Why are you so negative, man? Why can't you just get into it? Why can't you just, have fun?" And it's just I'm just too aware of the world around me. I can't just release into that and have fun in the mindless sense. But that seems to be the default for our entire society. Just mindless fun, this whole world of sports, right? Meaningless sexual encounters, right? All these parties, these airhead bimbos and these dumbass bros, and they're woo! And it's like, no matter how drunk or high I got, I could never take my mind away. I could never be an idiot. I could never surrender myself into that fake ass world and these fake ass people. So there was a day when I was 16, pretty much in the floor of my shower, just kind of like crying, considering all this, and basically just kind of making a decision, like either I submit to this, eventuality, and in that case, I'll probably just kill myself because I don't want to live that predictable life. I don't want to go forward if I can't have something to look forward to, right? And that was option one, was take myself out of the equation, right? Option two, which, as you might suspect, is the one that I chose, is basically declare open-ended, ultimate, never-ending holy war against all of the things that stood in my path to having meaning and purpose and freedom in my life. Just basically scorched earth policy. Just burn it all to the ground. Everything that stood to antagonize my sense of magical development, my sense of purpose and meaning, and my own internal revolution, I would just declare open war. Just fire the cannons. You know what? Light them up. Drop the nuke. And, we'll see what happens. And, how I act today, I am still in that contract. I am still bound to it as a condition of living. Because ultimately, the more that I see of the human race, the more that I realize that this contract is absolutely essential. We went to a Celtic fantasy festival in the area yesterday, and it was definitely more fantasy than Celtic. A lot more, Harry Potter and World of Warcraft based than necessarily ancient Celtic society, but it's all good. There's larger Celtic festivals in the area that are definitely more authentic, and still looking forward to those. But anyway, the point is that walking around and seeing people basically like, the fantasy becomes this surrogate for meaning in life, right? And it's all part of this satanic cult of when we're kids, right? They get us believing in all this like fantastical bullshit, right? Like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. They feed us all these lies, these totally fraudulent stories, and they tell it to kids, knowing that the kid believes in their parents, that they don't understand why their parents would lie to them, right? So they believe it. And then it's this mass satanic ritual that then eventually all those, hyper-inflated fantastical notions are shattered with a hammer later on. Like, oh, you thought that was real? You little idiot. Yeah, we were just lying to you because it's fun. And, yeah, we figured you liked being lied to, And, I think that as we get older in life, we kind of, we distance ourselves from these minor traumas, but I think that they're very, very important in creating a society of slaves, of people who don't believe in their own power, who don't believe in magic, who believe that rationalism and atheism and hedonism are literally the pinnacle of, mental achievement and status. And if nothing in life matters, then why not just get obese and play video games all day? Why not just be a cantankerous old hag or some, just a wandering slob, basically who doesn't care about anyone? And that's kind of like how a lot of people treat each other in this society. It's really just nobody gives a shit. I mean, granted, I'm being a little bit cynical right now. It's leading into my optimism that came out of it. But back then, this is like all I could perceive was just like, people are so shitty. This world sucks. Like, oh my God, how did they make this world so shitty? And, the answer to that question, it came to me in that moment that basically, either if this world isn't worth my time and I'll take myself out of it, or if this world is worth my time, then it's my world. I own it. I own everything inside of it. Everything that happens is a consequence of my action or inaction. And the thing is, the reason that I hope Max will forgive that I'm mixing, a review of her material with a kind of clickbaity headline like how mind control works. But to me, these are very, very integrated. And, because as long as people believe that life is meaningless and there's no consequence and there's nothing after death, and, it's why should anyone care about politics at all, let alone changing the political paradigm? Why should anyone care about the true history of the species? It doesn't matter anyway. I'm just going to keep sitting here eating Cheetos, playing video games, and, cursing the world. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as people are in that reduced energetic state, they are completely inert as far as the control grid is concerned. Someone who doesn't have the energy to take a shower every day, to eat, good food, to basically, be nice to people around them instead of this draining, energy-sucking, vampiric, parasitic mentality. Like, there's no way that that person's going to go above and beyond and do anything outside of themselves. They can't give energy because they don't have any, right? And the true religion is a cultivation of the life force energy, right? It allows you to have that power to give, right? To use for yourself or for others, right? If you don't have the internal power, you have nothing. You have nothing to give to yourself, and you've got less than nothing to give to others, which is why they turn into parasites and psychic vampires, just because they're literally at a constant deficit all the time. All the mitochondria in their cells are saying, right? Instead of, you drink some green juice, you go for a run, you breathe some clean air, you drink some clean water, and they're like, ah, right? Even a person who just makes that choice, who, like, the day one, they're still as obese as they were the day before, but their attitude changes. They decide, you know what, now I'm going to take command of this. And all of a sudden they start taking good things, filling their body with light, right? And like that, they just start feeling so much better, right? And it's it's this reverence for life that I feel now that I didn't feel back then. I just felt this program. I look at a flower and my left brain would just be talking about xylem and phloem and cell walls, and, it would just be dissecting it like a computer without any meaning. It was just, here's this organic, plant, and, and I'm just scanning it. There was no appreciation. I couldn't see the plant, like, because like most other people, I was mind controlled. I was stuck in half of my brain. I was stuck in my left brain, right? And there's plenty of other people in this culture stuck in their left brains. They can't appreciate anything. They don't feel love. They don't, really experience this world. Every perception is just a sequence in, time and analysis, right? And then on the other hand, there's people who are stuck in their right brain, and they perceive everything and they feel everything, but when it comes to like doing math or like computing basic, rational equations to, get through life, they just completely break down, right? And, these two programs, a person can be left brain dominant, right brain dominant, whether they're man or woman or anything, but in general, it seems like men are more left brain locked and women are more right brain locked, right? And if anything, if there's any, glass ceiling that needs to be broken, right? It's not in, forcing more girls to do more math and forcing more boys to play with more Barbie dolls. The glass ceiling is in the pineal gland. We need to have a culture that promotes balance and harmony and, differences among people that can be complementary, right? The communist box, right? They just want to make everyone the same, make everyone equally miserable, and maybe that'll create some brotherhood of man down the line, right? But it doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. And I find that my happiness increases the more that I feel like my true self, right? I feel like I've been on this lifetime path of, trying to unite this infinite majesty of my dream world when I go to sleep and I'm fighting dragons and performing all these huge feats and jumping through dimensions and just experiencing this whole other multi-dimensional world. And then there was my waking life, which is boring as shit, right? School every day, I was total video game nerd. The funny thing is, up until I started smoking this plant right here, cannabis sativa, right? It was school, finish all the school shit and go play World of Warcraft, right? I never got super into it. I never got to level 60 like most of my friends. I eventually just started smoking weed and realized a very key thing, you know, which was that life is the ultimate video game, right? But you have to lose your fear, first of all, of yourself. And once you're not afraid to be yourself, to play your own character, you can go out and you won't be afraid of the world because you're comfortable in your skin, right? You're comfortable in this bubble that you inhabit, your experience. And kids, they're taught anxiety. They're taught to be uncomfortable in their skin. They're taught that, people are judging them, and they're taught to judge other people. And basically, everybody grows up with this neuroticism, right? This just, like they're covered in spiders or something, right? Because their nervous system is constantly tense. And again, in like 1984, it's like, the person's greatest weapon against them was their own nervous system, this constant state of tension, right? Because when people feel that constant state of tension, they can't feel any of the whole spectrum of genuine human emotions, whether it's sadness or happiness, right? Real emotion. I remember I felt so grateful for feeling sadness before, for just being sobbing. Someone close to me died, and basically I'm grieving them, but I just remember in those moments of just absolute sorrow and despair, also feeling this profound joy that I could feel these feelings. At least I could feel, because I've been at points in my life when I don't feel anything, right? Like back when I was an atheist, I didn't really feel joy, I didn't really feel sorrow, I just this depression, just this gray, this endless gray. Like after they chemtrail the sky and you don't have orgonite around, right? Just that endless flat gray haze. That's how I felt life was. And again, it's interesting that cannabis kind of taught me to gain control over my nervous system and start to, perform therapy on that anxiety, right? And that allowed my brain to unlock itself out of the left hemisphere. It allowed me to just look around and see the trees, see the sky, and just smell the air, and feel everything around me, right? And still to this day, I'm liable to get locked in my left brain and just go, especially when I'm working. I used to say there's the me that gets shit done and there's the me that has fun, and they're not the same person. People in college would say, man, like sometimes you just party really hard, and other times like you're just a cold son of a bitch and you just get shit done. You just like don't want to do anything. And I was like, yeah, and I'd tell him what I just told him. There's the me that gets shit done, there's the me that has fun. They're not the same person. I wish they were, but they're not. And I feel like here in 2018, I have brought those two together. The me that gets shit done and the me that has fun is now the same person, right? I don't really focus too much on my dreams at night because every day that I wake up is like a walking dream, like that I'm living through. And I'm like this lucid character, right? Interacting with these other characters in my dream. And I find that the more that I have this attitude is the more that people right in front of me just seem to unlock, like they just come to life, like boop, 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 and the power comes back on, right? And the engines start running. And it's just really interesting. Again, shows that we have this magical power with humans, and the more that we're locked inside this computerized reality, and taught that anything that we feel is not real and we can't trust our own senses, right? When I put my hand over an orgone pyramid, I feel this distinct like laser beam of energy, like a cold invisible fire shooting up through my hand. That doesn't exist because there's not a robot that tells me that I'm feeling that, right? I need a robot to confirm my experience for it to be real. That's what these scientific atheist materialists claim to us, that your reality doesn't exist. Sorry, it's not science because you just felt it and that's not real. Like, we need our robots to tell us what's real. And I think that's bullshit. No, scratch that. I know that's bullshit. It is bullshit, objectively, unequivocally. And the thing is, again, subjectivity rules, right? So a person, who it resolves in their mind that they don't feel anything, that what they're looking at or trying to ascertain, apprehend, is categorically impossible, and they'll put their hand over it and they don't feel anything. And also their body's so calcified, from listening to the scientific edicts of the medical industry and big pharma, that they probably don't feel anything. Again, it's not even about calories, it's not about macronutrients, it's about this chemical poison, right? And they're like splinters in the fiber, right, of the body. And that's why, the more that a person has this bullshit in their body, the more easily they get injured, right? When the body is filled with light, it's flexible, it doesn't easily break, and when it breaks, it heals incredibly fast because there's energy flowing right to the rupture, to the wound, and it just heals up so quickly. Whereas when your body is filled with poisons, right, these chemical poisons, all these, look on the back of any given food in the supermarket, right? It's just garbage. It's all this, all this shit that the CIA probably invented, like, back in the 40s and 50s. Like, they've just unfolded this mass chemical warfare on us. And this is also, it ties right into it, why people are so depressed, because they're eating literal poison that curbs the energetic sensitivity of all of their cells, right? And then what are they fed? This surrogate of mass media, which itself brings no happiness, at most a sense of temporary entertainment, I guess. I mean, I've seen people sit in front of sitcoms and laugh so intensely on cue with the studio laughter, and I'm just looking at this like, that wasn't funny at all. This is so programmed. Like, our humor and our reactions are being scripted and popped into our brain. How we understand each other as humans is this function in our amygdala, and it's basically when you look me in the eyes, when I look you in the eyes, my brain mirrors what it sees in your eyes. By the sheer expression of your face and your eyes, my brain mimics that. And that's how I know if you're looking sad, I can tell if you're sad. If you're looking happy, I can tell if you're happy. If you're lying to me, I can tell if you're hiding something. If you're telling me the truth, I can tell that you're giving it all, right? And it's something that every human has the ability. And again, it's about how well is the brain coordinating? How well are the hemispheres talking to one another? And this is our power. When we choose our own attitude, we have the power not only to hold that space for us, but we have the power to basically infect another person with either that degenerate, materialist, atheist depression and cynicism and snidiness, or just a good-humored, hey, cheers, bro, how you doing, And it's beautiful. It's like, I get homeless people on the street basically telling me you know what, you got a great smile, man. You got a great smile. And I just say, hey, there's enough cranky people in this world. I'm gonna smile. Cheers, man. And it's just things like that, just bringing that energy, holding that torch, bringing it around with you. These are my videos that I make for you guys, but consider this. Every single conversation I have with anyone, I'm still holding that fire. I'm still bringing that energy. I'm enlightening literally every single person I talk to or encounter. And that has been the case since that day when I was 16 years old. And it was like that before, but I was afraid before. It was that day that I decided, you know what, I'm not going to kill myself, but I'm also not going to take this shit anymore. You know what, I don't care about any of these people. What matters is my experience and my mission and my revolution on this planet, right? And so it's the beauty of, deciding not to kill yourself, but still having that decision is that, it's like when a person is gets hit by a car and they almost die, and then they come back to life and they've got this whole new attitude on life. Wow, I can do whatever I want. I've been given a second life. I felt like I had been given a second life by myself, except it was the same life. And there have been these certain, gateways in my life that I've passed through that have just kind of widened and expanded that perspective to the point where I'm at now. I feel very comfortable in my skin. I'm extremely grateful for my life, for my beautiful wife, Space Panther, for, this home that I'm living in. I'm grateful that I've allowed myself to pull out of the addictive behaviors that have kept me bogged down. I've been able to lose the fear, and I've been able to create an energetic vortex that is sustainable. I wake up each morning and it's not like this profound stress and anxiety and neuroticism running through my head, which for most of my life it has been. Waking up to an alarm clock to work for people who don't really benefit you in return except for your wage, right? Giving it all to, just basically receive peanuts in return. It doesn't necessarily inspire the soul. But, again, when you choose your attitude and you just choose to continue on knowing that something else will be better in the future and you will make it if it's not, if it's not made for you, right? You will find it. It's that attitude of I'm going to go and I'm going to get it and I'm going to win. Like, that attitude is a prerequisite for any achievement, small or large, right? But as soon as you're in the mindset of, I don't know, like, you know, when you psych yourself out, there's literally nothing that can be achieved. And mass media is just this one big psych out exercise. This MK Ultra program that they're basically rolling out on the masses is basically all just designed to script the human emotions, desensitize the spirit to death and destruction, right? Make people more and more in this artificial, contrived narcissism, right? This hedonism, and it's again, I don't I try and keep it really optimistic and positive, but this is a video about why I chose not to kill myself and continue on in this world. So I've got to give you some context, right? And I feel happy, right? I use these plants and I appreciate them, and but even without them, I'm still happy. I can still generate energy from within myself, and I'm going to continue to go forward in life and know every day that I am the solution to all my problems. All the experiences when we left home into Beatrix and living in the van and basically all these crazy experiences, wondering what to do next. In every instance, I figured it out. I got through it, right? This too shall pass. And once we learn to basically hold that faith, right, go forward, and the next time we're feeling like, oh shit, what the hell am I going to do now? That's when you remember, oh wait, yeah, I'm the creator of the universe and I can figure out anything, because I'm a representative of that divine spark. All right, and then I take a deep breath. Okay, well that happened because actually this was adjusted, and then your mind traces it right back. But as long as you're in flight or flight, basically panic mode, right? You can't see the solution, even if it's right in front of your eyes, staring you in the face. And it's about rites of passage. Basically referring back to Max Trinity's book, Metaphysics for Suicide Prevention. It's about rites of passage and the cosmic art of adolescence, right? And adolescence, when I say that word, I guess my mind and most people's minds thinks of like being a teenager. And that's part of it. That's when most people start their adolescence, right? But the thing is, most people don't finish it in this culture. We have a culture of man children and woman children walking around pretending like they're the adults. They have no emotional maturity. They have no intellectual cognizance. They have no spiritual perspective that allows them to maybe reconcile their ignorance and mania, but into some sort of practical mindset. But the thing is, they're all children. Not all. There's plenty of adults, and these are the people who are probably nodding their head to in agreement to most of my videos. Regardless of what age you are, right? Because I was an adult, mentally before I was even a teenager. I was already looking at this world, right? And only now in my late 20s is anyone even beginning to be interested in it. And now I appear to be really smart to them because I've been focused on it the whole time, because I just could see it, right? I wasn't stuck in my little bubble. I was always reaching out of it. And again, it's just, you gotta lose your fear if you want to play the game of life. It is a game. It is very much a game, and it's extremely fun, and there's infinite complexity, and the rewards are real, right? It's not this safe space. It's very real, and there's real pain and there's real pleasure, and the gold that you win for the quests actually counts for something. More over than that, you have the ability to script the game going forward. You have the ability to determine the experience for the players who come after you. You know, you even have the ability to create new players, to create new conscious life, right? It's such a miracle that we're living in every single day. Every one of these trees, every one of these plants that's growing, and none of this has to happen. It's all one profound ongoing miracle. But because they desensitize us, they get these frequencies blowing out over the radio, get people staring at their screens, trapped inside the black cube, right, inside the black box, and everything they do is scripted and predictable, and that's the matrix. That's what we're trying to break. And I just, I believe that we can create a new culture. It's, there are very, very, very healthy, good roots in our current culture, especially living up here in the mountains. I get to perceive it a lot clearer than when I was, in the cities, for example. And, not that there's not culture there, but again, it's just more of this cynicism and just snideness, and people don't really care about each other. They might pretend like they're all super friendly, but that genuine care isn't there. Whereas up here in the mountains, they may not always be, hey, how's it going? But they actually seem to just generally still care about people. And, just driving on the freeway, it's not all aggro. Like, people, like, they get out of the way for each other because, hey, we're all just trying to get somewhere, right? But I don't know. It's a big topic, and it's life itself and the meaning of life. But, the reason that I want to emphasize all this is because, whether we're talking about things like the school shootings or, basically the powers that be and the wars and, the corruption, right? It's all a function of the human spirit. It's all here because of our action or inaction, right? So we assume from the very beginning that it's all your fault, right? Because if it's not your fault, there's nothing you can do about it. Right? But, that's what responsibility and cosmic responsibility is all about. And that's what the parable of the Christ, of Jesus, of Yeshua was about, was he took on spiritual responsibility for the entire planet, I guess, and it's just that metaphor that basically when a person is completely aligned with that state, that source of energy, right, they are capable of doing anything and influencing not just the moment that they're experiencing in, not just the moments of their physical life, but influencing the world and everything that comes after for thousands of years, right? That is extremely powerful. And even if there was, even if the atheists right now are responding, he wasn't even a real person. Well, was Sargon of Akkad a real person, right? Was, Aeneas a real person, right? The point remains that history is real, and we remember the names of the people who changed things. And you can be one of those people, and all it takes is to lose your fear and to get comfortable in your own skin and then build a vortex, right? A sustainable vortex of energy that you can wake up and go to sleep every day, and it's just charging, right? You're just charging, not draining, right? Life and how we age is a function of that vortex, right? If we are constantly losing integrity in our DNA, we age. Our skin wrinkles, we can't produce the same proteins and enzymes that we could, right? But we can repair DNA. It's all just light, right? It's all hologram. And again, it's what we take into our bodies, right? There's a big difference between how I thought when I was an atheist and very depressed and how I think and eat now, right? It's not all about being a vegan, right? It's just, and I'm not even 100% a vegan. There are like the hardcore vegans that would scream at me for even self-ascribing that word at all, because I eat eggs, now about a few times a week, and occasionally some fish, but mostly I just focus on putting fruits and vegetables and mushrooms and nuts and seeds in my body, basically things that still have the life force energy from the sun, right? And when I do take in animal products, basically I make sure it's the highest quality. I make sure that it's got its own internal life force, right? And, I bless the food, whether it's plant or animal based. I bless the water that I drink. I bless the air that I breathe. right? Everything that's coming into my universe passes through customs, and customs basically blesses everything and makes sure that there's no poison coming in. And of course, there's only so much I can do about that in modern imperial society. I mean, you're going to breathe the air that's around you, right? And if there's cars driving, you're going to take in some amount of poison, but we can build a world that is harmonious with life. We can build a culture that has a rite of passage that doesn't stunt children, that enables them to reach adulthood and maturity and responsibility and be able to perform feats, heroic feats for their fellow man and for themselves. You know, to not pass on the parasitism and this degeneracy, but to pass on that heroic legacy, to pass on that torch, that we can do anything. We are representatives of the Creator. We are that divine allspark, and everything that this whole world is us, right? Not the trees. I didn't make the trees, but all these houses, all these buildings. It's just completely amazing what we've built. And also, when a huge natural disaster comes, how easily it gets wiped out. And then what happens? It just gets built right up again, because we're choosing all of these experiences, right? Past incarnations of myself built this house that I'm now sitting in. I will build houses that other people will sit in long after I'm gone from that house and gone from this incarnation, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So, you know, this is the key to me, because if we find out about all the conspiracies, if we find out all the elite, or, you know, these degenerate satanic pedophiles, if we expose all this corruption, if we stop the wars and all this on the external plane, but we don't resolve that internal spiritual, emotional, mental conflict, it's all for naught. It's all pointless, because I'm not here to just destroy the empire. I'm here to build up paradise. I'm here to build that new world, and that is more important, actually, in terms of daily focus, than destroying the old world, right? Because it might seem a bit callous, but I do believe it's true, that the most important thing in life is death. That this world continually changes, and eventually, that as long as men die, liberty will never perish, right? That this too shall pass, and someday I'll pass too. And I just hope that the house that I built is strong and it brings pleasure to the people who live in it afterward. And yeah, I mean, if I can if I can go to my final sleep, whatever, you know, assuming that there is no future reincarnation, I just want to know that I played a good round, you know, and I had a good time, and I did right by the people who were around me and placed a trust in me. And, you know, it's not all about being a goody two-shoes. If there's a threat in my way, if there's something that needs to be destroyed, if evil reveals itself in my path, I will destroy it, and I will not be afraid to give my life to take it, you know, from this earth. And you know, it's all a lesson. It's all a lesson, but we've got to have the darkness and the light in a balance. And that's the true universal spectrum, right? It's only when are in we are in communication with our shadow self that shadow self doesn't become a disease. It becomes just another aspect of the self. Is the nighttime evil? No, I don't think the nighttime is evil. Is the moon evil? Some people might say it's an alien space station or whatever, but I don't think the moon could objectively be called evil. It also allows us to have all the biological time cycles on this planet that makes it so nice to be here. All these plants and foods, yeah, I like it. It's all about balance. It's all moving in one coherent flow. This universe is alive. We're here for a reason. We've got brothers and sisters and cousins throughout the cosmos, right? The human frame is a cosmic frame, and there's no such thing as death. We just change roles on this great stage that we call the world. And yeah, I want to make sure that we reach that paradise, because that's the prime directive. Not just bringing down the Illuminati and finding all the satanic pedophiles, right? It's about building paradise, right? And paradise gets built one brick at a time, right? Solve the riddle for yourself, and you'll be able to have a whole plethora of fun paradoxes to offer all your brethren for all eternity, and be able to lead them through the darkness, because you're shining one big-ass bright flame through the, you know, just make sure everybody can see what we are, where we're going. So that's my video today. Thank you again to Max Trinity. I've added her playlist to our channel if you'd like to check it out. I highly recommend it. It doesn't have a whole lot of views, but I really feel that this is the kind of perspective that we need to circle the wagons and build a real culture. Even if we accept that the empire's going down like the Titanic, right? It's time to get on a lifeboat, right? But, and be our brother's keeper. And stop whining and complaining and basically nipping at all each other's heels and be crabs in a bucket. But let's help each other. Let's get ourselves out of this, because I'll tell you what, there's not going to be any room for satanic pedophiles or evil parasitic psychic vampires in the world that we're creating, because it will be filled with the light of God, the light of that cosmic spirit, and everything will be very clear to all. And until then, we just gotta make it through this apocalypse process and come into terms with all the crazy shit that's happened in the past. So, back to that, and God bless all of you, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.